Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining me tonight for another calming sleep story. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've listened before, I'm so glad you've returned. These stories are made to help you drift into rest, to quiet the mind and soften the body, so that sleep can find you gently. Tonight's story was written by Maria, and it's a simple, tender one, about kindness, small joys, and a little puppy who helped bring warmth to a whole village. Puppies have a way of making the world feel softer, don't they? They don't worry about tomorrow. They just wag their tails, chase the sunlight, and remind us that joy can be found in the smallest of moments. So tonight, as you listen, I hope you can feel that same quiet warmth, that simple comfort, as we drift into a seaside town where ovens glow before sunrise, and the scent of butter and cinnamon fills the air. Before we begin, let's take a few moments to let the day fall away. Take a deep breath in and let it go, slowly. Again, breathe in and exhale gently. Let the breath be soft, natural, effortless. You don't need to control it, just allow it. Now notice the weight of your body, how it's fully supported beneath you. The surface holds you, steady, grounding, safe. Feel the quiet rhythm of your breathing. Each inhale brings in calm. Each exhale releases the day. Let the shoulders fall a little lower. Unclench the jaw. Soften the muscles around your eyes. Allow your hands to rest, warm and still. If thoughts appear, just let them drift, like small clouds moving across a pale sky. Now, imagine a quiet morning by the sea. The air cool, the light pale and golden. You hear the hush of waves against the shore, and the soft whisper of gulls in the distance. Somewhere nearby, a bakery begins to wake. There's the faint sound of dough being kneaded, the slow creak of wooden trays being set out, and the first smell of warm bread curling through the air. And just outside the bakery door, a little puppy sits, tail wagging softly, watching, waiting, ready to begin his small morning adventure. Tonight's story takes us there, to a cozy seaside village where warm bread cools on wooden racks. The scent of butter fills the morning air, and a small puppy carries joy, one basket at a time. So for now, let go of the day and let the story begin. The sky above the sea is still half asleep. A faint blue veil stretched between night and morning. Mist drifts across the water, soft and low, blurring the line where ocean meets air. The village rests quietly at the edge of that mist. Stone cottages line narrow lanes, their windows still dim, their chimneys barely whispering smoke. You can hear the hush of the waves beyond the harbor wall, the soft clinking of a rope against a wooden mast, and somewhere the distant cry of a waking gull. In one small corner of the village, down a cobbled lane lined with ivy, there stands a bakery. Its windows glow faintly with amber light. Inside, the world is already warm. Flour dust hangs in the air like soft snow. The low hum of the oven fills the room, steady and comforting, a heartbeat of warmth in the cool dawn. The smell of fresh dough and melted butter mingles with sea air. There's a faint hint of sugar, a trace of cinnamon, and the gentle sound of hands kneading bread. That's Clara, the baker. She hums as she works, softly, almost to herself, a tune she learned long ago from her grandmother. It's not quite a song, more like a breath of memory, steady, rhythmic, peaceful. Her sleeves are rolled up, and there's a dusting of flour across her cheek. Her hair is tied loosely back, and her hands move with quiet confidence, folding, pressing, shaping. Outside, the world is still wrapped in silver light. The sun hasn't yet reached the village square, but the first faint blush of morning glows behind the clouds. The smell of baking begins to drift through the cracks in the door, and a few early risers, fishermen and milkmen, lift their heads as they pass by, breathing in the comfort of it. Inside, Clara moves between her trays and wooden shelves, checking the rising dough, listening to the soft crackle of crusts forming in the oven. It's a familiar sound, like rain on a window, like an old friend's laugh, the sound of something right and real. Then, a different sound, very soft at first, a small whimper, barely more than a breath against the door. Clara pauses, flour still on her fingertips. She listens. There it is again, a tiny, uncertain sound. She wipes her hands on her apron and walks to the door. The morning light slips through the narrow crack as she opens it. Mist curls around her feet, and the smell of the sea rushes in. And there, sitting right on the doorstep, is a puppy. Small, round, soaked through from the drizzle. His fur clings to him in soft waves, and his little tail gives a shy, hopeful wag. For a moment, the two simply look at each other, the baker and the puppy. His eyes are bright, the kind of eyes that trust too easily. There's a faint tremble in his paws, but his tail keeps moving, a rhythm of hope. Clara smiles, the kind of smile that starts in the heart. "Oh, you poor thing," she whispers. She kneels down, gently scoops him into her arms, and carries him inside. The warmth of the bakery wraps around him like a blanket. He shakes himself once, tiny droplets scattering across the floor, then sneezes and looks up at her again, as if to say, "Thank you." Clara chuckles softly and sets him near the oven, where the air is warmest. She finds an old towel, wraps it around him, and begins to dry his fur. He closes his eyes halfway, half asleep, half comforted, as she rubs his paws and ears. When she brings him a small bowl of warm milk, he drinks eagerly, then curls himself into the towel, nose tucked under his tail. Outside, The first sunlight breaks through the clouds. The mist glows gold now. The village begins to wake. Inside the bakery, Clara hums once more, a little softer this time, a little slower. And beside the oven, the puppy dreams. The rain lingers through the early morning, soft and steady, a whisper against the window panes. It's not a storm, just the kind of rain that slows the world down. Inside the bakery, the air is warm and golden. The hum of the oven blends with the sound of rain, creating a quiet rhythm, a song of comfort that fills every corner. The puppy lies close to the oven, half wrapped in the towel Clara gave him. His fur is almost dry now, soft curls of cream and gold catching the glow of the firelight. Every so often, his little paws twitch in sleep, as if he's running through some gentle dream. His breath is steady, a tiny rise and fall, rise and fall. Clara watches him from the counter, rolling another batch of dough. The smell of yeast and warm milk fills the air. She smiles to herself, a quiet kind of smile that only comes when something feels right without needing to be said. She moves quietly around the room, careful not to wake him. Outside, the drizzle softens. You can almost hear the hush of the sea beyond the village. Waves folding against the shore, a lullaby older than words. When the first tray of bread is ready, Clara opens the oven door. A wave of warm air flows through the room, rich with the scent of baked crust and butter. The little puppy stirs, lifting his head with a sleepy blink. Clara chuckles. "Well, good morning," she says softly. He yawns, a small sound that melts the quiet. Then he tilts his head, sniffing the air as if deciding that this might just be the best place in the world. Clara kneels beside him again, placing a shallow bowl of warm milk on the floor. He noses it once, then begins to drink, slow, content, tiny sips that echo softly in the stillness. When he's done, he looks up at her, eyes gentle and trusting. She wipes a bit of milk from his chin with the towel, then strokes the top of his head. "You need a name," she says quietly. Her voice drifts like steam in the air. She looks at the trays of cooling bread, the pale dough waiting to rise again, the little curls of butter on the counter. "Something simple," she murmurs. "Something warm, like you." Her eyes settle on a small round loaf, golden brown, soft in the center. She smiles. "Biscuit," she says. "I think you're a biscuit." The puppy tilts his head again, tail thumping once against the towel, as if he understands completely. "Biscuit it is, then," Clara says with a nod. She returns to her work, and Biscuit curls himself tighter near the oven, nose resting on his paws. The rhythm of the bakery continues, the gentle clatter of trays, the low hum of the oven, the rain-steady whisper on the roof. Outside, the village begins to stir. Doors open, footsteps echo down the cobblestone lanes. The smell of warm bread drifts out into the morning air, weaving through the mist. Inside, Biscuit dreams of open fields, of friendly faces, of soft hands and steady warmth. For the first time, he is safe. He belongs. And as the morning light spills through the window, painting soft gold across the floor, Clara hums again, the same tune as before, but gentler now, as if the melody itself is smiling. By the time the rain clears, the village is wrapped in pale sunlight. The cobblestones shine from the drizzle, and little puddles glimmer like bits of sky scattered along the lane. Clara opens the bakery window to let the sea breeze drift in. It carries the scent of salt and rising dough, and far away, gulls wheel lazily above the harbor. Inside, baskets of bread are lined up on the counter, golden rolls, soft buns brushed with honey, and pastries folded into perfect little spirals. Each one still steams faintly from the oven. The smell is almost too comforting to describe. Warm, sweet, buttery air that feels like morning itself. Biscuit wakes as Clara ties a ribbon around one of the baskets. He stretches, front paws long, back arched, then gives a single bright bark that echoes through the shop. Clara laughs softly. "Good morning to you too," she says. "Hungry already?" He trots to her side, tail wagging in careful circles. Clara kneels down, tying a small red scarf around his neck. "There," she whispers. "Now you look like part of the bakery." Biscuit sits proudly, chest puffed out, as if he already understands the importance of presentation. Clara lifts the first basket. "This one's for Mrs. Dorian," she murmurs. "She can't walk far these days, so we'll bring it to her door." She steps outside, the bell above the bakery door chiming softly. Biscuit follows, tiny paws pattering against the stone. The village is waking slowly. Shopkeepers sweeping their steps, a fisherman calling out to his son. The air still quiet enough that you can hear the gulls and the sea. As Clara walks, Biscuit trots beside her, head high, tail steady. The basket swings gently in her hand. At the corner house, Mrs. Dorian's curtains flutter. Clara knocks gently and calls out her good morning. A moment later, the door opens, and the old woman's face brightens instantly. "Oh, Clara, and who's this little fellow?" she asks. "This is Biscuit," Clara replies with a smile. "He's helping with deliveries today." Biscuit sits neatly, tail brushing the step. Mrs. Dorian leans down, offering a soft pat. "Well, aren't you handsome?" she says. "And helpful, too." Clara hands her the basket, warm rolls, a croissant, and a small jar of apricot jam. The old woman closes her eyes for a moment, breathing in the scent. "Smells like sunshine," she says softly. Clara smiles. That's the idea. When they leave, Biscuit looks back once as if to make sure the delivery was a success. Clara chuckles. "I think she liked it," she tells him. They continue down the lane, past the florist, past the tiny post office with its squeaky sign, past the harbor wall where the tide whispers below. Each step has its own quiet rhythm. The sound of Biscuit's paws, the soft creak of the basket handle, and the wind moving gently through the olive trees. By the time they return to the bakery, Clara's apron is dusted again with flour, and Biscuit's fur carries the faint smell of sea air and butter. He follows her inside, watching curiously as she fills more baskets, one for the school, one for the lighthouse keeper, and one for the small cafe at the corner of the square. As she ties the ribbons and folds the napkins, Biscuit sits at her feet, tail sweeping the floor in slow contentment. When the next basket is ready, Clara kneels down again. "This one's a little heavier," she says softly. "Think you can help?" She places a small cloth-lined basket in front of him, just his size. Inside, 2 warm rolls and a folded note. Biscuit noses it carefully, then looks up at her, waiting. Clara ties the handle gently to his scarf. "Now take this to the flower shop," she whispers, "just across the lane." "Go on, boy." Biscuit blinks once, then trots toward the door with careful steps. The little basket bobs against his chest as he walks. Outside, the air is filled with the scent of roses and sea salt. He crosses the lane, pauses once to watch a gull hop along the wall, then steps into the flower shop. The florist laughs when she sees him. "Well, aren't you clever?" she says. She unties the note, reads it, and takes the bread from the basket. "Tell Clara thank you," she adds, and Biscuit gives a soft bark before turning back toward the bakery. Clara is waiting at the door, hands on her knees, smile wide. "You did it," she says, scooping him up in her arms. "Well done, my little helper." Biscuit licks her chin once, a quick, joyful gesture, and she laughs softly, holding him close. From that morning on, Biscuit becomes part of every delivery. The villagers begin to wait for him. The children run to the window when they hear his paws. The fishermen keep scraps of bread in their pockets for him, and even the postman leaves a biscuit by the gate. He doesn't just deliver pastries anymore. He delivers smiles. He delivers warmth. And the whole village, in its gentle seaside way, feels a little lighter because of him. The days begin to pass softly after that. Each morning, Biscuit wakes before the first light, stretching in his little corner by the oven, as Clara hums and the smell of bread fills the air. He knows the rhythm of the bakery now, the rise of dough, the sound of wooden trays being set down, the moment the first loaf cracks open in golden crust. And then, the bell above the door, the cool air of morning, the walk through cobbled streets, each delivery, each smile from the villagers, makes Biscuit's tail wag a little faster. He's no longer just the puppy from the rain. He's the bakery's heart, the village's joy. But one morning, the sea changes its voice. The sky, usually pale and kind, hangs low and heavy over the rooftops. The air smells of salt and thunder. Clara looks out the window as she kneads the dough. Dark clouds gather over the water, and the wind presses against the shutters. "Looks like a storm's coming, Biscuit," she says softly. "Let's make the deliveries early today." Biscuit tilts his head, ears perked, as if he understands. They prepare the baskets quickly, warm bread wrapped in cloth, tiny pastries tucked between napkins. a few handwritten notes for neighbors who might be staying indoors. The air outside is cool, but the wind carries the scent of the sea, wild, restless, alive. Biscuit trots beside Clara, his little basket bouncing with each step. They deliver to the lighthouse keeper first, then to the old couple by the harbor. By the time they reach the square, the first drops of rain begin to fall. Soft at first, like fingertips against the stone. Then stronger. The sky darkens and thunder murmurs far beyond the cliffs. "Come on, Biscuit," Clara says gently. "Just one more delivery, then home." But the wind catches the corner of her apron, and the rain begins to pour. Biscuit squints, his fur darkened and dripping. They hurry along the narrow street, but in the rush of wind and water, one of the baskets slips from Clara's arm. It tumbles down the slope, rolling over stones past the fountain and out of sight. "Oh no!" Clara calls out, but the wind steals her voice. Biscuit freezes for a moment, then bolts after it. "Biscuit!" He darts between puddles, his little paws splashing through water, ears flattened against the wind. He can just see the basket up ahead, caught against a lamppost. Rain beats against his back, but he keeps going, tail low, eyes fixed. When he reaches it, he nudges it gently with his nose, pushing it out of the puddle and under a small awning. He shakes himself once, drops flying in every direction, then sits beside it, guarding it from the rain. A moment later, Clara appears through the mist, her hair damp, her cheeks pink from the cold. "Oh, Biscuit," she says, half laughing, half sighing in relief. She kneels beside him, wrapping her arms around his soaked fur. "You clever boy." "You found it, Biscuit," lets out a soft whine, licking her hand as if to say, "It's safe." "It's okay, Clara," takes a deep breath, looking around the quiet square. The storm is already passing. The wind softens. The rain turns to drizzle, and sunlight begins to press through the clouds. They walk home slowly, side by side, the sound of puddles beneath their steps. By the time they reach the bakery, the ovens are still warm. Clara sets down the rescued basket, then lifts Biscuit into a dry towel. She rubs him gently, drying his fur, her voice soft and steady. "You brave little thing," she whispers. "You didn't just save the bread. You saved my heart today." Biscuit sighs, a small, happy sound, and rests his head on her arm. Outside, the last drops fall from the eaves. Inside, the smell of cinnamon fills the air again. And for a long, quiet moment, everything feels safe. Everything feels home. By the next morning, the storm is only a memory. The sky has been washed clean, soft blue, stretching endlessly over the sea. Sunlight drips down from the clouds like gold, glinting off puddles that sparkle in the cobblestone streets. The air smells fresh, salt and rain and warm bread. Somewhere a bell rings faintly, echoing between the stone walls, as if the whole village is stretching awake after a long, deep sleep. Inside the bakery, the warmth feels even richer than before. The oven hums softly, and the sound of dough being kneaded blends with the morning gulls outside. Biscuit sits near the door, tail thumping in small, steady beats. His fur is fluffy again, his red scarf freshly tied. Clara leans down beside him, smiling. "You're ready early today," she says gently. "Big day, isn't it?" Because today, the village is celebrating its harvest festival. Every year after the rains, the people gather in the square to share what they've made. Bread, fruit, flowers, songs. A day of gratitude, laughter, and stories. And this year, everyone knows who the smallest guest of honor will be. Clara opens the door, and the bakery's golden light spills into the street. She carries out trays of pastries, twisted rolls filled with jam, little honey cakes topped with almonds, and round, soft loaves brushed with butter. The smell floats through the air like a warm breeze, and one by one, villagers begin to appear. The florist arrives first, arms full of blooms still wet with dew. She waves to Clara, then bends to scratch Biscuit behind the ears. "Morning, hero," she says with a wink. "I hear you saved the bread yesterday." Biscuit tilts his head proudly, tail wagging. Then comes the fisherman, with a basket of fresh rolls he'd traded for the day before. Then Mrs. Dorian, carrying a bouquet of lavender tied with string. Even the postman stops by early, leaving a small treat in Biscuit's bowl before tipping his hat. Soon the square fills with color and sound, children's laughter, the creak of wagon wheels, music drifting from a fiddler's corner. Biscuit trots between the stalls, checking on everyone like a tiny festival guardian. A ribbon flutters loosely from his scarf now, a soft blue one, tied there by one of the children. Everywhere he goes, someone smiles. Someone kneels to pat him. Someone says, "There's the little baker's helper." By midday, the air is warm and sweet with the scent of sugar and fruit. The fountain at the center of the square gleams in the sun, and garlands of ivy hang from every window. Clara's stall is surrounded by neighbors, each reaching for loaves and cakes, sharing small coins, but more than that, sharing laughter, stories, gratitude. And through it all, Biscuit stays close. Sometimes he sits by the baskets, watching the crowd with curious eyes. Sometimes he carries tiny paper bags to the children who reach for them with careful hands. When the fiddler begins to play a softer tune, Clara looks down and finds him curled beside her stool, nose tucked into his scarf, half asleep. The music moves through the air, slow, peaceful, golden. It sounds like sunlight on water. It sounds like home. Clara leans down, running her fingers gently along his fur. "You did so well," she whispers. "You've given everyone something to smile about." Biscuit stirs slightly, his tail moving once, and then he's still again. As the afternoon fades into evening, the sky turns the color of peaches and cream. Lanterns begin to flicker to life across the square. The air cools, but it carries the warmth of shared joy. That quiet hum that lives between people who have helped one another and been helped in return. When the last loaf is sold and the last child is carried home, Clara gathers her baskets and looks around the glowing square. The ribbons, the laughter, the golden light. It all feels like the softest kind of magic. She looks down at Biscuit, still dozing, and smiles. "You did it," she says softly. "You made the whole village happy." He lifts his head, eyes half closed, and gives a tiny yawn in reply. Together they walk home, lantern light following their steps, baskets swaying gently. And somewhere behind them, the fiddler's music carries on, slow, soft, and full of love. The morning after the festival is quiet. The village, usually filled with the sound of footsteps and chatter, is still. The sky above is pale and delicate, like a page waiting to be written on. A few ribbons from last night's lanterns flutter lazily in the breeze, and in the square, a handful of petals from the garlands drift slowly across the cobblestones. The air smells faintly of sugar and wood smoke, the kind of scent that stays long after a celebration ends. Inside the bakery, the oven hums once again, steady and familiar. The world may rest, but Clara's rhythm never truly stops. She hums softly as she kneads the morning dough. Each movement is calm, unhurried, like a memory being shaped in her hands. On the stool near the counter, Biscuit snoozes in a patch of sunlight. His scarf is a little wrinkled from yesterday's adventures, but he doesn't seem to mind. Every so often, one ear twitches, perhaps at the sound of a bird outside, perhaps at the faint rustle of dough being folded. But mostly, he simply rests. The bakery smells like home, like vanilla and honey and warmth. Clara glances at the sleeping puppy and smiles quietly to herself. "Do you remember," she says softly, "how you showed up on a morning just like this?" Her voice is gentle, more like a thought than speech. "You were all fur and rain and tiny paws. And now look at you." Biscuit shifts slightly, as though he understands every word. His little tail gives one slow wag, even in sleep. Clara chuckles, turning back to her work. The world feels safe here, unrushed, whole. And as the night deepens, the bakery itself seems to hum, not with work, but with memory, of laughter, of shared loaves, of a small, brave puppy who once carried a basket through the rain. In your mind now, you can picture it all again: the soft streets, the glowing lanterns, the tiny footprints in the puddles. You can almost hear the gentle rhythm of Biscuit's steps, the soft patter of paws on stone. Each sound a heartbeat, each heartbeat a lullaby. And with each breath, you sink a little deeper into rest. Inhale and exhale. The breath moves slowly, just like the sea beyond the village, rising and falling, rising and falling. The world has gone quiet now. The ovens sleep. The candles fade. And the puppy dreams, safe, warm, and loved. So as you drift now, imagine yourself there, in that little bakery by the sea, the scent of fresh bread still in the air, a faint melody of waves outside, the golden light of evening brushing your face. You are safe here. You are home. You are loved. Let the quiet hold you. Let the warmth stay with you. And let sleep come gently, like a soft, slow tide returning to shore. Good night, and sweet dreams. The village sleeps again now. Evening has returned, soft and golden, like butter melting on warm bread. Through the bakery window you can still see the faint glow of the oven, steady, peaceful, alive. Outside, the sea hums its endless lullaby. Waves roll and rest against the shore, a rhythm as old as time, as gentle as breath. Clara sits by the window, a cup of tea cooling in her hands. The day has been full, not busy, not hurried, just full, in the way that simple good days are. She looks down and sees Biscuit asleep at her feet. His tiny chest rises and falls in slow, even breaths. Every now and then, one ear flicks or a paw twitches, as though he's dreaming of running through sunlight again. Clara smiles. She doesn't speak. She just watches. The warmth of the room, the hush of the night, the quiet comfort of knowing that everything is enough. Outside, the village lights shimmer faintly across the water. Somewhere, a gull calls once, a lonely distant sound that fades into stillness. The sky above is clear and wide, filled with slow-moving stars. Their reflections shimmer across the sea, like tiny lanterns floating on the tide. The scent of bread still lingers in the air, sweet, soft, warm. It mingles with the salt of the ocean breeze and the faint perfume of flowers from the window box. The world feels safe here, unrushed, whole. And as the night deepens, the bakery itself seems to hum, not with work, but with memory, of laughter, of shared loaves, of a small, brave puppy who once carried a basket through the rain. In your mind now, you can picture it all again, the soft streets, the glowing lanterns, the tiny footprints in the puddles. You can almost hear the gentle rhythm of Biscuit's steps, the soft patter of paws on stone. Each sound a heartbeat, each heartbeat a lullaby. And with each breath, you sink a little deeper into rest. Inhale and exhale. The breath moves slowly, just like the sea beyond the village, rising and falling, rising and falling. The world has gone quiet now. The ovens sleep, the candles fade, and the puppy dreams, safe, warm, and loved. So as you drift now, imagine yourself there, in that little bakery by the sea, the scent of fresh bread still in the air, a faint melody of waves outside, the golden light of evening brushing your face. You are safe here. You are home. You are loved. Let the quiet hold you. Let the warmth stay with you. And let sleep come gently, like a soft, slow tide returning to shore. Good night, and sweet dreams.